Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and very good morning to all participants and panels. I'm Norawati Binti Masro from Sahabat Berenam College Committee. I would like to present about the innovation study of soldering iron stand using with heat sensor. This picture shows that the soldering iron stand before innovation and after innovation. For the introduction is the teaching and learning process in the laboratory workshop is a key aspect for electrical technology certificate students in all community college. The innovation name is soldering iron stand with heat sensor is specially designed to increase safety before, during, and after the soldering process is implemented. Soldering is the process of connecting conductors or connecting wires or component terminals to a circuit board by melting metal to produce an electronic circuit. The innovation soldering iron stand with heat sensor is improved by placing heat detector and light emitting diode LED to detect hot soldering iron temperature. This is the equipment and materials are used in soldering process such as soldering iron stand, solder lead, and desoldering pump. The problem statement for this innovation is where the observations conducted in the class of ICSSIT2020 electronic device. Before the soldering iron process, we should ensure that the soldering iron is at the maximum temperature before making soldering. Which is detect heat is to look at a small cloud of smoke produced or the presence of heat. During the soldering process, often touched by soldering iron that is still hot even though the supply switch has been closed. Burn because there are no indicators that indicate that the soldering iron is still hot. Observation conducted in the class ICSSIT2020 electronic device, students or users should ensure that the soldering iron is at the maximum temperature before making soldering. Among the methods for students or users to detect heat is look at a small cloud of smoke produced or the presence of heat. While when the soldering process has been completed, students or users need to ensure that the soldering iron must be in a completely cool condition before being stored again on location. This is to prevent the liquidity of the soldering iron cable or its handle from occurring. Throughout the researchers' observation during the implementation of teaching and learning in the laboratory or workshop, students or users are often touched by soldering iron that is still hot even though the supply switch has been closed. This will cause the student or user members to burn because there are no indicators that indicate that the soldering iron is still hot. Following this incident, researchers came up with the idea to produce an innovative product, soldering iron stand with heat sensor. The objectives of innovations as follows. Number 1, prevent accidental contact with soldering iron that is still hot even if the supply switch is closed. Number 2, improve the safety of students or users during the soldering process implemented. Number 3, inform the users that the soldering iron is in good condition, hot or cold. Number 4, inform the user that the soldering iron is in good condition or damaged or not functioned. The method in this research is: number 1, the respondents are among semester 4 students of electrical technology certificate only. Number 2, the method of the research is use observations, survey and information collected using questionnaires. Okay, number 3, the questionnaires is list by the demographic, opinions, before and after, and the suggestion. And number 4, the analysis is using SPSS, which is only descriptive. The result also shows that respondents often use soldering iron stand for hot soldering iron place with a percentage 100%. This accords with the method of using the soldering process for the occurrence of unwanted accidents such as burnt and so on. The findings of this research is about the gender of the respondent. The table 1 shows that 100% male students and no more female students. Table 2 shows that 100% respondents often use soldering tools in the soldering process. Based on table 3 shows that respondents often use soldering iron stand for hot soldering iron place with a percentage 100%. This accords with the method of using the soldering process for the occurrence of unwanted accidents such as burn and so on. Table 4 shows that 100% respondents are difficult to know whether the soldering iron works well or not before the soldering process is implemented. Table 5 shows that 100% respondents state that it is difficult to know the soldering iron is in hot or cold conditions. Based on Table 6, shows that 100% respondent is difficult to know the soldering iron has been in cold state after the switch is turned off. Table 7 shows that 72.2% have never had an accident such as burns due to contact with hot soldering iron, while 27.8% respondents have had an accident such as burns due to contact with hot soldering iron. All the table 2 until table 7 is before innovation. For this table 8 until 14 is the findings about the after innovation done. Table 8 shows that 100% respondents have never seen an innovative product designed. Table 9 shows that 100% respondents never use soldering iron stand with heat sensor as designed. Based on Table 10, the respondents are also confident soldering iron stand with heat sensor after drying away. Table 11 shows that soldering iron stand with heat sensor can determine whether soldering iron works well. This is evidenced by the results of the study with percentage of 100%. Respondents can find out through the LED ignition indicator on the soldering iron stand with heat sensor when the soldering iron switch is turned on. If there is no LED light after more than 10 minutes, this indicates the soldering iron does not work. Table 12 shows that 100% respondents can find out the soldering iron is in a hot state by using soldering iron stand with heat sensor. This proves that the use of soldering iron stand with heat sensor can facilitate the process before and during soldering. Based on Table 13, shows that 100% respondents can know the soldering iron is in a cold state by using soldering iron stand with heat sensor. The process for soldering iron back to this cool temperature takes about 11 minutes, and at this point the LED will go out. This proves that the use of soldering iron stand with heat sensor can facilitate the process after soldering is implemented for the purpose of storing the soldering iron in its safe location. The last table 14 is show that 100% respondents have never had an accident such as burns due to contact with hot soldering iron after this innovation product was created and introduced. This proves that this innovative product can reduce the accident rate when the soldering process is implemented. Indirectly, this innovation product can also apply safety practice when the teaching and learning process in the laboratory workshop is implemented, especially for the subject of ICSSIT2020 electronic device. The impacts of the soldering process run smoothly and safely. Number 2, inform students of user when soldering iron has reached hot and cold temperatures. Number 3, tell students or users where the soldering iron is in good condition or damaged. If the soldering iron placed on the soldering iron stand with heat sensor has taken a long time but the LED still does not turn on, then the soldering iron is in a damaged condition or does not work. Number 4, it's very suitable for use in laboratories or workshops that often use soldering iron to carry out the soldering process. Number 5, improved practices of preventing accidents can be implemented. Number 6, increased appreciation of safety practice in laboratories or workshops should always be applied to prevent any accidents that occur such as burns and injuries. The last impacts of this research can also be used by the general public in schools, IPTA, IPTS, as well as the electrical and electronics industrial sector. The conclusion of this research is the SIS with heat sensor can easier to know good condition or damage and hot or cold. Number 2, to preventing accidents. Number 3, improve safety practice. The suggestion of this research is the researcher want to add an adjustable jigs next to SIS with heat sensor to make it easier to hold the circuit board during the soldering process. That's all for my presentation today. Thanks you so much to all panels and participants. Thank you very much.